right, everybody, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big surprise, right? But this is a really interesting article.
Always is.
Always interesting, right?
Absolutely.
It's called Falling Wedge Breakout Fuels Bitcoin's Bullish Momentum Toward $106.
Wow.
So right off the bat, we're talking big numbers here.
Big money.
$106,000. What are your initial thoughts on that number? I mean, just at first glance.
Well, I mean, just hearing $106,000, it's exciting
It is exciting.
for sure. But, we always have to approach these things with a little bit of,
Skepticism.
healthy skepticism.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it is interesting to think about.
It is.
I mean, what's really catching your eye in this article besides just that big number?
Well, it's not just the number itself. It's this idea of a falling wedge breakout.
Right.
You see, we've seen this pattern before in Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
Where it kind of, consolidates in this narrowing range and then boom,
It breaks out.
breaks up.
So that's not totally uncommon. But
What's really interesting this time is the timing.
oh, okay. So the timing is
Yeah, it's all about the when.
the when, not the if.
Exactly, because we've got a bunch of other signals.
Okay, so what kind of other signals are we talking?
Well, remember when BlackRock filed for a Bitcoin ETF last year?
Oh, yeah. How could I forget?
That was huge, right?
Jizz.
Because it's not just BlackRock, it's like all these institutions, they're starting to see Bitcoin as a real asset, a legitimate investment.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what really fuels the fire.
Right. So the more these institutions invest, the more demand.
More demand.
And higher prices.
That's where you get these huge price surges.
Right. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
But, we can't just ignore the elephant in the room.
What's that?
Bitcoin is volatile.
Oh, yeah.
Very volatile. So how does that volatility play into all this?
Right. Well, volatility, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, it can lead to these incredible gains, right? But on the flip side, corrections can be brutal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about May 2021. Bitcoin lost, almost half its value in just weeks?
Yeah. I mean, it can happen that fast.
So, this $106,000 target, it's exciting, but we got to acknowledge that the journey might be bumpy.
Oh, absolutely.
Are there any kind of historical parallels that we can look at to understand how this might actually play out?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because the current market structure, it actually resembles the 2017 bull run in a lot of ways. Remember what happened back then?
Yeah.
We had these parabolic advances followed by some pretty hefty corrections.
So up and down.
Yeah, but the overall trend was up.
Okay.
So it wasn't a smooth ride.
So if history repeats itself, we could see Bitcoin hit $106,000,
Potentially.
but then maybe pull back before it really takes hold.
It's definitely a possibility.
It's a bit of a nail-biter, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and we can't forget about the macro environment.
Oh, yeah.
We're dealing with high inflation, geopolitical uncertainty.
It's a wild world out there.
It is. And these factors, they can really influence how investors behave.
Right.
Now, some people see Bitcoin as a hedge against all that.
Yeah, a safe haven.
Right. But it's still susceptible to overall market sentiment.
So it's not immune.
Not at all.
So it seems like navigating this market requires, caution.
Definitely.
And really understanding all these different forces at play.
Absolutely.
So let's recap for our listeners. We've got
Okay.
this projection of $106,000, driven by the falling wedge breakout, institutional adoption, but we've also got volatility,
Yep.
macro uncertainty.
Always.
What's the key takeaway here?
I think the most important thing for listeners to remember is to be critical,
Yeah,
do your own
don't
research.
just take our word for it.
Exactly. I mean, technical analysis, it can be a helpful tool, but it's not a crystal ball.
No.
And the same goes for these market predictions.
Right.
The potential for guff is definitely there, but we need to weigh the risks.
And understand that the road to $106,000,
Yeah,
if it even happens,
right.
could be full of surprises.
Absolutely.
Great advice. Always do your own research, folks.
Here.
So here's a final thought for y'all to ponder.
Okay.
If Bitcoin does reach $106,000, what kind of ripple effects might we see across the whole financial world? I mean, would that really cement Bitcoin as, a dominant force?
Now that is a question worth pondering.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
And on that note, we're going to wrap with this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.